You want inconsistency in your worldview?
Yes. So yes, it is ageist.
You believe it's ageist, okay.
Yeah. And I'm fine with
Just
that.
justifiable ageism.
I'm fine with it.
How's it going? What do you think about these signs? Not much. To me, doesn't like, you don't have very much reaction to that? Or do you mean not much? Like you don't like it very much, or there's just no reaction?
No real reaction.
Why is that?
To me, it's all medical.
All medical?
Different reasons for it.
Yeah. Well, what medical reasons justify doing it?
Personhood.
To like the mom?
Yeah.
Well, if you had a mom who was, let's say she had this baby, would any medical reasons justify killing this baby?
Depends on what you define as a baby.
Okay, is this a baby?
That right there, yeah.
Okay, how do you know that's a baby?
Can it sustain itself outside of the mom?
Not on her own, no, she'll die if, well, yes, she can live, but if the mom doesn't care for her, she'll die.
A couple of weeks outside of an incubator.
What?
Can it live outside of an incubator?
Outside of an incubator? So long as someone cares for her, yeah. If no one feeds this child, she'll die. This child is not an independent being in the sense of caring for herself yet. She needs mom, dad, or someone to care for her.
And is there a moral obligation to take care of the child if there is no, I guess, life for it? If that life is going to be painful for it, is there a moral obligation to prevent it from suffering?
That's a really good question, right? So like, if someone lives in pain, which people live in pain all the time, we know that, right? We could either help them, comfort them, care for them, alleviate their suffering, or we could eliminate them by killing them. Which do you think is morally superior, to help people or to kill them if they're in pain?
That's on a person-by-person basis, and that's why I look at it as medical.
So do you, I'm asking, would you be consistent? If you think they're gonna have a life of suffering, so we should kill them, would you say the same about?
The issue is that it's not a consistent thing.
What do you mean, not a consistent thing?
It's a case-by-case basis. You can't put it one way or the other.
Do you think that sexual assault is case by case, was always wrong?
Yes. First of all, sexual assault is wrong.
Always wrong, every situation?
Every situation.
Okay.
As long as all facts are true.
Oh, sure, that's fair. Like if it was a real, legitimate, yeah, sure. I understand what you're saying. So why is that always wrong? What is it about assault, sexual assault, that is always immoral? What principle is being violated there? Like, is it wrong because you're harming someone? What is the principle there that makes it always wrong?
It's one of those things that's hard to put into words because some people see it one way, some people see it another way. There's different thresholds for every person.
True. But what if someone told you they think sexual assault is good? They'd be wrong, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so clearly there are some goalposts here.
There's goalposts, but it's hard to define. The goalposts are hazy, but we all know they're there.
Okay, so good.
I guess that's
fair.
That's what my stance is on a lot of things.
Yeah.
There are goalposts. It's hard to see exactly where they are because there's a fog kind of on the ground of things, but they are there. We all can say that they are.
So what are the goalposts when it comes to?
That's not for me.
This child, this child, the newborn or infant.
It's not for me to say.
So okay, I would.
I'm not in that situation.
Okay.
I don't know the full facts of the story, so I can't really say.
Do you have to have experience inside a story to judge if the actions of the characters are right or wrong?
I need to be a part of that story.
You do? Okay, hang on a second. I mean, neither you nor I were alive in the middle of the 20th century, but we can look backward and certainly condemn the actions of Nazi Germany, right? We weren't part of the story. Even if you were German, I'm partially German, but I was not a German in that society. I'm American living decades later, not part of that story.
Like, you can't see the base of the goalpost, you can't see exactly where in the ground it is, but you can see the general goalposts.
The goalposts are...
That's not where I want
gassing a Jew because he's a Jewish, that violates the principle, right? And you're not part of that story, though.
General goalpost.
Yeah, general goalpost. I agree with you.
Concrete goalpost. That's my point.
No, I would not say that. This is a general goalpost. We're saying the general goalpost is, if you have a living, innocent human, you should not purposely kill them. That's for the Jew.
The goalpost runs so deep that case by case, it's different.
Well, help me understand, why is it wrong for Nazis to gas Jewish people? In your idea, why is that wrong?
Because you're taking something You're prejudging something completely different and forcing an outcome.
What outcome are you forcing on them?
Death at that point.
Okay.
An otherwise completely normal thing is being forced into one future, I guess, because of someone's ideology.
So you have a living human who's being judged because of his ethnicity, his religion, and then you're forcing the outcome of death on him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Help me understand why that's a problem. I agree with you, but if that really is true, what you're saying is anytime you have a human judged for something they cannot control, like their ethnicity, it's wrong for us to force an outcome of death on them. I think it's a good principle. How is that different? I think your principle ought to lead you to oppose abortion, because what you have is a living human. Scientifically, they're humans, they're alive, they're growing. Dead things don't grow, so she's alive. You're forcing the outcome of death on her. Why? Because she's so young. But age, like ethnicity, is something you don't choose. You just are a certain age. So shouldn't your principle lead you to oppose that? This student makes it clear that he believes in the moral goalpost of not forcing death on a person based on qualities they cannot choose, like their ethnicity. However, he resists applying this standard, his own principle, to abortion. Abortion is simply another example of taking someone's life based on something they cannot control: age. When pressed on what situations justify killing a person based on age, he tries to make an argument from potential suffering. This puts him in a dilemma. He has to either admit that he is moving the goalpost he himself set and being inconsistent, or he has to attempt to redefine what it means to be a person. Stay tuned to see him resort to both arguments. You're saying if someone has no support...
Absolutely no support, and this child is going to have an absolutely miserable life, and it's going to make things way harder for the mother. Let's say you're in the jungle, there's things all around you trying to kill you every day. You're doing your best to survive, you have a child, and you're able to abort it, or you're able to carry it all the way through and give it a miserable life, in turn making yourself also miserable, because you have to compromise yourself to keep helping. I think it's morally justifiable to take the baby out of the equation at that point. You are already living, you are already doing your best on your own. Adding somebody else into that equation is unjust to them.
But that's what happens in the COVID situation with a ventilator. You were at home happy, they pulled you out of there, put you in the hospital. Wait, hang on a second. Hey, let me explain.
Because you do have the ventilator and you are able to pull
But
through.
the mom is able to pull through with the pregnancy. Her life is not in danger here. She's choosing not to.
You're asking me about the extremities.
No, I'm saying
you asked me about the extremities.
I'm asking what you learned from the extremity. Can you extrapolate? You're extrapolating to an inconsistent. It's not a fair extrapolation. You're saying because in this situation where mom has no help whatsoever in any sphere, in that situation she may kill the baby. I don't agree with that. But if that were your principle, today in this real world in America, that is not true. We are not in the middle of a village somewhere where there's no social structure for her.
So you're having an issue with me being inconsistent on my view of what is what.
Yeah, I think so.
My take on all of this is it has to be an inconsistent thing. You cannot have a hard line.
You want inconsistency in your worldview?
Yes.
Wait, but hang on a second. When you told me 10 minutes ago this sexual assault is always wrong, you have a consistent view. It's only this situation. Maybe there are others, but it seems like there's this abortion somehow unique to you. You don't want to apply abortion to your goalpost. You want to move the goalpost because you like a different answer here. I think what's happening is you are in a situation where you're in a culture where abortion is preferred, and you want to agree with that culture. So you say, my principle, I'm going to move it to match the culture. I'd rather be consistent with people around me than with my own principles. And that's normal. People want to be consistent with people around them and to be liked. I'm asking you, is it actually better? Because that's why in other cultures, people have accepted horrible things because the masses do it. In Rwanda, when they said there aren't enough bodies in the graves, why did Hutus pick up machetes? To follow the crowd. The Hutus who denied and refused to do that, they were standing apart from the crowd to follow their principle. We shouldn't kill their people if they're innocent on purpose. That took guts. I'm asking you, are you willing to be gutsy and follow your principles, or will you violate them to be in the preferred crowd around you?
I don't know.
You have to choose here, the crowd or your principles. And most people, I'll just be honest, most will choose the crowd. To be frank, I often have chosen the crowd too, and I feel guilty for it. I want to be consistent with what I know is true. You have a goalpost. You move it when it comes to abortion to justify the society's view of abortion being okay.
No, I have my own views on things. They might fall in line with what society believes, but I have my own.
No, but your goalposts were, if you have a living human, we should not force death on them.
But those are mine.
That's yours.
That's
but see how, okay, you have two options here. You can tell me that's not a human, so it doesn't apply, or you can say I'm going to move my goalposts. Which is it?
To me, that's not a full human. It's not viable.
Okay, that's what matters then. So we finally, I think, found an important point. What do you mean by full human?
Sustainable outside of them.
Okay, so is a cat a full human? Because a cat's sustainable outside of its mom.
No, it's a full cat.
Okay, you see what you're saying? Full though, full and human are different. When you say full human, you're saying human plus this one quality, being able to survive independently from the mom, at least, not really independently, right? You're adding a category on there. Why do you add that? Why not just human period? Why human plus something?
Because for you to live, so you can live as a vegetable, but that's not really a life.
Based on whose definition? Yours?
Yeah.
Are you enough to say you have to have my experience to matter?
No.
The vegetative state person doesn't matter like I do?
Everything I will say is inherently flawed because I have my own bias.
Hang on a second. You don't really believe that, right?
Yeah.
You don't believe when you say sexual assault is wrong, that's really flawed. That's morally true.
Yes, and morally it's true, but my morals differ from somebody else's morals. So somebody else looking on my opinion will always say, that's flawed, that's not entirely
But aren't they wrong if they say your view of sexual assault being wrong is
they're
wrong?
Wrong to me, they're right to themselves.
But okay, so I'm asking a different question. I'm asking, is it really wrong for everyone anywhere to do sexual assault, or is it only individual?
I feel like we're drawing parallels that shouldn't be drawn.
Because it's uncomfortable, because you're stuck now, you're in a dilemma. You have to either say it's wrong for everyone, this is a moral truth claim, it's true for everyone, or I'm gonna say some people it's okay for them to sexually assault others. You're in a painful spot, and I get that, that's hard, because your gut is telling you it's always wrong. Your head is saying, I can't judge other people. So you have to ask yourself, what is true? Now it's just like between I said before, you're stuck between your principles and society. Now you're stuck between what you know is true and maybe what feels true, I don't know, but you're stuck in this spot. You have to decide, is it really wrong for everyone anywhere to commit sexual assault, to gas a Jew because he's a Jew, or is it really up to people to decide for themselves? What do you think?
Back to the same thing, case by case basis.
So you're taking the case by case. So you're saying that it's okay, Hitler was actually moral in gassing Jewish people because that was his worldview.
No, so...
No, what do you mean no?
In that case, no. In the case of sexual assault, no. Case of abortion, sometimes yes.
See, you see the difference there. You're saying as long as a born person like me, no, no, no. But someone who's different than me, unborn, yes. How is that different than a white man saying, if you're white, you're protected. Black, not protected. Like me, protection. Not like me, no protection.
Humans are inherently tribalist.
So you recognize that you're taking a tribalist view that's not true.
I
so
recognize
you admit
that my views are inherently flawed and that everybody else's are too.
Well, I don't
That's
think,
just a part of
can you
being
point out the flaw in my view? My view is that all humans are created equal. So if it's wrong to purposely kill an innocent white man, it's wrong to purposely kill an innocent black man. The same for the born, pre-born human. Same for the rich, poor human.
No, I can't fault you for that because my views are exactly the same.
No, they're not the same.
No,
With black
no.
and white, rich, poor, not born and pre-born.
No, born and pre-born, they're different.
Exactly.
Black and white, they're exactly the same. So I can't judge differently on your view for one thing if we agree. It's
right.
very, very hard to play devil's advocate, if you want to say that.
Sure, it is. To argue for genocide or slavery. Yeah. But see, the difference here, you and I agree on the goalposts. Mm-hmm. We agree on the goalposts in every situation unless the person is too young to be born. You said this group of humans, the other ones, those who are different, they don't apply. We're back to the same point that you and I share the goalposts. Yep. Don't purposely kill innocent humans. But then in this one group, you say that's okay, because they're different in some way. That is a rejection of human equality. Do you at least agree with that point? You're saying that group of humans who are different, they don't get the goalpost protection other people do.
You're labeling them as human.
Oh, well, how are they not human? What do you mean by that? See, I mean human as a merely scientific category.
This all goes to individual morals.
No, so I'm not dealing with morals. I'm dealing with science.
No, it is. Down at the core of this, the issue is morality. So you have what you believe is a human, you have what I believe
no,
is a human.
that's not morality. That's not morality. That's science. Hang on a second. No, morality is should you kill that person,
scientifically,
not that
we're
human.
all made of the exact same type of cells, right?
But a mouse is not a human.
No, a mouse is not. But genetic makeup of its cells are completely different. To an extent.
Okay. So you recognize a sameness among the category of human species, Homo sapiens.
Yes.
Okay. I agree with this. That's what I'm appealing to. I'm not. There are two things: science and morality. I agree. Morality must come in here. Science can never tell me it's wrong to rape someone. It can tell me that woman is a human. It can't tell me how I should treat her. So when I ask, what is this person here, I'm not asking, you could say, let's back up. You could say the earth is flat. That's your opinion. It's scientifically inaccurate. You are wrong. The same way you could say that's not a human. You may say that, but as the late, I think Daniel Patrick Moynihan was his name, his late senator, he said, you write your own opinion, not your own facts. If you say she is not a human, you are speaking inaccurately. This being here is growing. Unlike these bricks, they don't grow because they're not alive. She's growing from one cell to many cells. Her parents are humans, so she must be humans too. She is a living human. Maybe not a person we should protect. That's morality. But she is a living human. And my view is all humans are equal.
Let's change the view from human to person.
Okay.
When does a fetus become a person?
Immediately. I don't think any human is a non-person. In our history, when we've taken a group of humans, said you're different, other, therefore you don't have personhood, like black men, like women, that's where we get into major problems. We say, you don't have my sex organs, you don't have my skin color, therefore you are other, you are a non-person, human plus being white, human plus male sex organs. I say all that is wrong. When it comes to our natural rights to life, we ought not discriminate based on things like sex or skin color or age. The whole idea that any humans are non-persons is only ever pushed by people who want to discriminate in some way. The black man's not a person, we want his labor. The woman's not a person, we want to use her. Same thing here, we say the child's not a person because we want to kill her.
To me, person is person until you get to something like a fetus.
Again, okay, so you see how you're doing it though. You're saying all humans like me who are born like me are persons. Yes. That fetus who's different, not a person.
No, yes. So all people who are born like me are actually, you can expand on that if, like I said, the fetus is viable outside of the mother.
Are you viable outside your mom?
Yeah.
So again, you're saying people like me.
Yep.
Okay.
And it goes back to it.
So you say people like me are persons.
My view is inherently biased.
But do you see how mine is not? Mine is not. I'm saying that other tribe, the one who's different, too young to survive outside the womb, because they're human, they have the same natural rights I do. And that's why I can believe in human equality. You believe in personhood equality based on your private view of a person. You don't believe in human equality. Because you look at some humans and say they're non-persons, therefore they don't have protection.
Sure, you can say that.
So would you agree with me? You believe that all humans are not equal. Is that true for you?
If you're counting a fetus and a living, breathing, fully self-sustainable human, the same thing, then sure, not all humans are equal.
Okay.
People are equal, but not all humans are.
Many resist examining the reasons they support abortion. There is no justifiable reason to classify preborn babies as non-persons. The scientific matter is settled. They are humans. And thus they are persons too. No living human being is a non-person. This is why human embryos and fetuses should enjoy the same right to life as anyone else. History has shown that when evil people want to discriminate against a group that is different from them, the first step is changing the definition of human or person to exclude the group they despise. They dehumanize them to justify the unthinkable.
And you want to use the definition of human as somebody that has the same genetic makeup at base that I do.
What if you have conjoined twins who cannot survive independent of each other? They will never live independently the same way you or I will. Are they persons?
Yeah. I mean, they're able to...
They don't meet the qualification.
No. So, qualifications are...
Yeah, remind me what a qualification is. Sorry, maybe I got it off track.
If the person can sustain themselves outside of the mother, if they cannot... If they don't have to have exterior help, I guess. Now, whether you look at the other twin as exterior help or not, that's up to you, and that's up to your own definition. But
well, see, I look at the kid in NICU as absolutely that. In an incubator, with doctors coming in, nurses coming in, he will die. If someone's not coming in frequently to care for him, that's outside help. He would not meet your definition of a person. So it would be totally fine for someone to walk in there and shoot him. He's not a person with rights to life.
No.
the right to life.
Is the child in the NICU able to survive at the end of stay in the NICU, or is it?
Hang on a second. So is the fetus.
determined?
The fetus will survive after birth on her own. I mean, still need the moms for care, but she's not going to be forever in this state of being attached to mom by umbilical cord. There's an expiration date on pregnancy, just like a NICU stay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's similar. So if it's similar to extent, should you maybe at least, is it possible you're wrong and the 6-week embryo who is human but cannot yet survive on her own, or the 15-week fetus who is human but cannot survive outside of mother yet? Or could it be that you're wrong and they are persons like us?
You said it right there. I'm right to myself, you're right to yourself.
Okay.
Difference of opinion, difference of view.
So you never correct anyone's opinion. If I told you I am a misogynistic white supremacist, you'd say that's fine for you. You can believe that black men are less than. You can believe women are less than. You would say that's fine. Hold your view.
I'd talk to you exactly how you're talking to me.
Okay, that's good. Okay, that's good.
Things
Yeah.
just a bit. But at the end of the day, if I can't gently nudge you in a direction to change your view, that's the best I can do.
See, I agree with you completely. I just think, again, I see a difference of I'm not trying to change your mind.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see if you apply your own ethic, that it's wrong to force an end outcome on a living human being if you'll be consistent, and you are not. You say it's, maybe you'll reevaluate now. It's something you should be saying, it's wrong to force an outcome on any living human who is like me. Those who are different in this important way, it's fine to force an outcome on them. If you say that, then you're being consistent with your goalposts. Is that your view?
I don't want to be consistent with the goalposts.
You don't want to be consistent. But wait.
It's an emotional, irrational thing, and that's the
desire
beauty of being
consistency?
human.
Hang on a second, though. We shouldn't desire irrationality, should we?
To an extent.
What
It
if
keeps things interesting, it keeps things...
I mean, yeah, that's true. What if I believe I'm a bird, though? You wouldn't say, okay, go jump off that building and flap your arms, because I'm going to hurt myself.
No, I'm not going to tell you to do something that's inherently dangerous, because that's my moral code speaking. But if you want to believe you're a bird, you can go and believe you're a bird. That's totally fine. I really could care less. You're weird for that? You're weird for that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I would be weird for that, right? But I guess my point is, I think that there are lines you would draw, and you say, if someone's being harmed, I'm not gonna let them believe what they want to believe. Like if someone believes assault is okay, they can believe that. If they go act on it, I'm gonna intervene and help that woman. I think you do that, right? But again, I think you're being inconsistent if they're humans, unless...
I think my point that I'm trying to get across is I'm fine with being inconsistent.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm consistent.
I get that.
I'm inconsistent on this issue. I don't think I'm going to change anytime
That's fair.
soon.
That's fair.
But maybe there is a point where maybe I'm a father and my views do change. And maybe I do come back to this conversation, but I don't know if I ever will.
That's okay. I don't want to be like some memorable moment in your life you have to remember forever. I want people to ask themselves, really, why do I think that's okay, right? To take a living human who is different than me and decapitate, dismember, disembowel them. What justifies that? I want to really wrestle with that and ask themselves, am I being consistent with my view? If your view is all humans who are like you in some way, or like you in this way, they deserve protection. Those who are different do not deserve it. Then you're being consistent.
So I'm thinking about my view on things, and the more I think about it, the less that I can say that I know what my view is.
Okay.
Because for me, it's
Fair.
still case by case.
Yeah.
It's
But see, I would tell you that you have a view there. Your view is abortion's always fine. Or give me an abortion you think would be wrong.
if there's every reason to believe that the child is going to survive and the mother is going to survive. The pregnancy is due the week after, and this is an extreme scenario like I deal with, or I guess deal with mentally, because these things don't happen. I'm extremely privileged. If there's every reason to believe that everybody is going to turn out fine, there's no reason for abortion. It's completely, there's no way to justify it. If there is a way to justify it, then sure, go ahead with it. At that point, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. It's a medical thing.
Okay, well, I can't deal with the part about being a week before birth because usually abortions are not that late, right? Some do happen that late, but most are not that late. So, I mean, that I can't respond to. But again, I would say you're choosing the baby's age as when she's a person or not. I find that to be ageist, not racist, but ageist. But your point about everything being fine, did you know that, like if you were to guess, how many abortions do you think are chosen because the mom has a physical condition, a health issue?
Yeah,
a good deal.
A good deal.
Would you be surprised to learn it's somewhere between 4.5%, either 4% or only half of 1%? Reports vary a little bit, but it's the overwhelming majority of abortions are for elective reasons, not because mom's physical health has any medical indication, but she's choosing this for other reasons.
Now, the elective reasons, does that include financial burden?
Yeah, for sure, because that's not a physical issue. It's not a medical issue.
That is a really large issue.
But it's not medical.
It's not medical, no. But, like
and
I
you said earlier, it's a medical thing.
It's a medical thing.
A minority is medical.
Until it impacts, so yes, it is ageist.
You believe it's ageist, okay.
Yeah, and I'm fine with
Just
that.
justifiable ageism.
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
And that's me shifting goalposts, sure. I'm totally fine with that. I'm totally fine with my views shifting for one part of it and for another part of it.
Okay.
It's a very gray area for me, and I'll decide in the moment.
Okay.
There's a point early on where if you discover you're pregnant and you really can't deal with that, then terminating it is fine by me.
Okay.
If there's complete viability after a certain point, kind of up to debate whether it's all right or not. Because one, you could, I don't know if I'm quoting too quickly, but if you go septic shock, mother's gonna die if you don't take the baby out or abort the baby. If there's no way to efficiently keep the baby alive and deliver the baby entirely,
See, again,
I'm tripping up over my
No, I know, it's okay. I would say that we really mostly agree on that point. Again, if the mom is septic, the baby's stuck in the fallopian tube, if there's something that we have reason to believe if we don't do something, mom will die, I do think we're justified separating mom and baby. Now, abortion is too slow. You don't have time for that. It could take days, depending on the baby's age, because they got to open the uterus, they got to get her out. That takes some time. You go to a hospital, do an emergency C-section or induction of vaginal birth, and then you separate them. There's no reason to slow things down and kill the baby first, because mom doesn't have time for that, and there's no reason it would benefit anyone to do that. So we agree on that principle that we should save the mom. We do agree on that principle here. But I think that it's interesting. I'm glad you're honest and admit that you are ageist, that you're moving the goalposts, you're inconsistent. I think that's admirable to admit that. I don't agree it's admirable to pursue that, but that's a point that we, I think, don't agree on here, right?
At the end of the day, I'm fine with being flawed.
Well, I'm not fine with it. I actually think my flaws are a problem, but I know I am flawed.
I'll try to correct my flaws, but whether I identify them as flaws or not, or whether I'm fine with keeping them as flaws.
You don't see this as a flaw, right?
I don't see it as a flaw right now.
Yeah, I understand that.
I feel like my view on things is fairly neutral, and I'd like to keep it. I like to go around upsetting as little people as possible.
What you just heard is the real reason so many stay silent during the abortion holocaust. They inherently know what is wrong, but they prefer to be liked by people around them. They are like the hypocrites of Jesus' day. In Matthew 6:5, we read that they prayed standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Now, we shouldn't desire to upset people, but we must speak the truth even if it causes us to be hated. The approval of God is worth infinitely more than the approval of men. The lengths that this student goes to simply to avoid being disliked is evidence that opposing abortion is not only a question of facts and logic, it's an issue of the heart.
So would you consider this, okay? You're not gonna become a crazy anti-abortion guy like me, standing here with signs, talking to people about abortion, whatever. You're not gonna do that. That's the verbal scene opposition, right? But would you consider just this? If you know someone who's pregnant and they're wanting an abortion, walk them like, let's explore this, right? Why do you need the abortion in your mind? And let's see if there's a way to resolve the problem that isn't killing the child. You're not saying that's wrong to do. You're undercover exploring with them the possibility, because I think many women, from what I've read, a lot of women choose abortion not because they want it, but because they feel the lack of support. You can be that support for them or any baby you create, saying, I'm going to be here.
Support for people.
Yeah, that's good.
At the end of the day, it's their decision. I can't
Okay,
do that for
I'm not
them,
asking you to
and
come
I
the whole
can't-
way. I'm just saying
I
we
can't
come a
stop.
little bit toward me and say, I will help her explore how she can be supported in another way. I will be that support for her. That I will never advocate for abortion of a child I create. Would you at least commit to that?
I don't want to commit to anything because views change.
Okay. Would you consider this?
I like keeping my views fluid.
Did you hear that? He was not willing to commit to anything because views change, and he likes to keep his views fluid. This is an abandonment of what he said earlier about sexual assault always being wrong. If he likes to keep things fluid, does that include the morality of sexual assault? He can keep things fluid because he is his own moral standard. When morality becomes something we create rather than receive from an objective source, then we are forced into a world where we can never criticize any wrongdoing. Neither would it make sense to try to advocate for what you believe it is right to do.
I'm asking you, would you consider being an advocate for mom or baby, pick at least one of them, and be a full advocate by saying, I understand you want that. Tell me your story so I understand why you want that. Let's see what other options you have. And at least if you're going to choose this, you should know what the actual situation is.
So
what's happened to
I
the
can
fetus
say-
and to you.
I can tell you how I currently stand and how I'm going to continue to stand is mom first, baby second.
I'm
Because
not
I
arguing
can
against that. I'm not arguing against that. I'm not trying to convince you otherwise.
I can confidently say, if you lose a baby, you can make another as long as you're alive.
Just know this. What you will not know, I meet those women 20 years later when they tell me I chose abortion. People didn't try to help me understand what would happen in abortion. I have grieved for 20 years alone because all those people, I can't go back to them now. I can't tell them how I feel now. They supported me in this. I feel guilty for what I did, and no one agrees with me. I meet those women that you are consigning to long years of grief. Now, that doesn't mean abortion is wrong. You could grieve things that are not wrong. I'm not saying that's why abortion is wrong. And my point is your choice to walk a certain way is leading to babies dying and women grieving in silence where they don't feel like they can even tell you what they're feeling because they know which side you're on.
And
That's why they tell me, because they know which side I'm on, then my side can make sense of their bad feelings. You can't. You're saying, hey, it's ambiguous, neither right nor wrong, but they feel inside, they know it's wrong. Think of the internal trauma you're committing them to, where they take this action, seen by the world as good, but internally they know it's wrong.
There's the other side of everybody is barred from having an abortion, and there's people that are miserable. And those people
Okay.
are getting harmed. So there's two sides to every coin.
Hang on a
You
second,
can't
that's why I'm not saying it's wrong because of how the mom feels. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying if I tell someone the full, here's what's happened in abortion, all the information, she still chooses it, she is certainly responsible for the action, her feelings follow along. If I hide the information from her and then she feels guilty afterward, that's where I feel responsible for not telling her the full information first. I'm saying don't advocate for the baby. If you can't go there, merely consider helping people understand what abortion actually is.
That's fine.
Okay, that's good, that's
I
something.
cannot advocate for a baby blind. Just,
What do you mean blind?
I can't say, like, without a doubt, like, baby comes first, baby needs to.
I never said baby comes first. I didn't say
Baby
that.
needs to stay alive.
I think most women probably would put baby first if they had the support structure, because internally they know that's what parents do. Parents put their kids above them. It's not me before you, it's you before me.
Well, there's
You above
yes.
me, them before
But
us.
then there's also the issues of foster system is flawed, adoption system is flawed.
You can keep painting all these horrible
Yeah.
pictures, right? Yeah, I get
but
that.
it's not that.
I know you gotta go. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm Seth. What's your name?
Torn.
Torin? Great to meet you. Sorry, finish your last sentence. You get last word.
Everything is inherently flawed. There's always nuances to everything. There's always a clause for another angle.
Okay. Thanks for sharing, Torin. You can find me on the website if you want to reach out with any other questions. No? All right. Great to meet you, Torin.
Thanks.
Have a good class.
It might be true that there are many things that are flawed in this world, but that does not mean there is nothing good to stand for. If there is something that deserves to be honored, like the sanctity of human life, then it deserves to be defended. When we fail to commit ourselves to anything good, then we are like this student who is unwilling to act on what he knows is the truth. Please visit createvequal.org to get involved in spreading the truth about abortion.